There is a hidden history that has been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why I am on the trail of the Nephilim. Today is January 17th. This is another edition of On the Trail of the Nephilim. That's yours truly, standing in a recently excavated area. Mark Hirschman is an archaeologist, amateur archaeologist. He has a site, and he led me to that site, and then we spent 2 or 3 days digging. It was my first foray into proper archaeological methods, and you can see I've got a trowel, and the trowel is right there. That is the remnants of a fire, possibly thousands of years old. We didn't carbon-14 date that, but you can see that's well below the surface level. So there's also fire crack rocks that I discovered. I'll talk about that and so much more after a word from our sponsor, Noble Gold. Our government is still borrowing money. Sorry, printing money, $5 trillion in new money to be exact. What could possibly go wrong? Meanwhile, back at D.C., consumer confidence hit a 10-year low. Inflation, 6.8%, with parts of the U.S. seeing rates as high as 8%. Something's not adding up, folks, is it? So what can you do? You can play it safe. Putting some of your assets into precious metals will keep your money away from the volatility of the markets. And this month, Noble Gold is giving away a free 1/10 of an ounce solid gold American Eagle coin with any qualifying plan you select. So talk to an expert at Noble Gold, and they'll run through the options for keeping your money safe. No pressure, no hassle, no call centers. Just a chance to speak to someone who knows what they're talking about for once. How refreshing would that be? Call us. 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347, or visit our website at noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. So the tools of the trade in a proper archaeological dig basically is a trowel. I mean, everything is just peeled very, very slowly, very meticulously. Everything is then, all the dirt is taken and then sifted. Usually the sifting, it depends on who you're with and the certain archaeologists, but most archaeologists will use a 1/4-inch mesh, all right, steel metal mesh. And so you put everything in a bucket, you take the bucket over, and you dump that bucket in. And our particular case was built in with an automatic shaker. It's the way this was. So you could shake it, and then you examine and look for fire crack rocks. You can look for bits of bone, arrowheads, beads, all sorts of things popped up, which is very interesting. So you see here, I've got my trowel in hand. I'm standing in, or squatting, I should say, in this area. And while I did not find an arrowhead, Mark found one, I think, the next day after I had stopped digging in this particular area. So a proper archaeological dig like that can take years because you're peeling back everything very, very slowly, very meticulously. There is another way to go, and sometimes it's used in areas where a road is going through and they hit like an ancient burial. And so they've only got a window of time to go in, and they can't conduct an archaeological dig, which would take 20 years. It's called rescue archaeology. If you watch Curse of Oak Island, you can see a lot of that, because that's what they'll do. They'll come in with huge excavators, move the dirt, they'll scan it with a metal detector, and then over a period of years, they'll go back over the spoils looking for things. We've done it both ways. We had a site in Ohio, which turned out to be basically a sand pile, whatever. It had nothing to do with a burial mound. It was a glacial deposit that looked like a mound. It definitely fooled us. And by the way, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about ground-penetrating radar. We actually brought ground-penetrating radar to that site. We were very excited because ground-penetrating radar, we brought it right up on top of the mound, showed an anomaly in a perfect circle down about 2 feet. We were very, very excited by that. So as we began to dig down, what it was a layer of sand, about 1 inch thick, in a perfect circle all the way around. So the bottom line is this, that ground-penetrating radar, it's when you watch these shows on TV, oh, ground-penetrating radar, and it seems to show it seems to convey, I should say, that, whoa, there's what you're looking for right there. It's not always so. Sometimes it's just an anomaly like sand, which comes up as something that has been disturbed. I get that. But in reality, it was just sand. So we rented excavators and went in there and dug a line all the way down that mountain. We're very careful to see there wasn't one artifact in that mountain, not one. Why? Because it was a glacial deposit. It had nothing to do with piling up dirt and creating mounds. Now, all that to say this, that there's two schools of thought. Down in Peru, for instance, is real archaeology practice? Well, yeah, it is in some circles. But the Wakaros, the grave robbers, go in and they don't care about anything. They're just looking for money, gold, silver, jewels, that's all, and of course elongated skulls. They will take the elongated skull and sell it on the black market. So it gives you an idea of, am I formally trained? Yes and no. Did I go to university? No. But I was trained by Mark Hirschman, also Mando Gonzalez, who is an archaeologist. Mando and I have been on numerous excursions together. And so you pick this stuff up and you learn what to do, what not to do. I will say this, that provenance is so important. In other words, if you find an artifact, let's say I was digging down with the trowel, and all of a sudden I were to find a very elongated skull. Well, the first thing I would do would be to take some sort of a ruler, a measuring device, and they usually, we have them, or a shovel, something, a dollar bill, if you don't have a proper archaeological rule. But you would have that on site. If you're really worth your salt, you'd have all that. So you would put that next to the artifact in situ. So there it is. It's still buried partially in the earth. So you're not just going, hey, look what I found. No. Everything has to be documented. It's so important when we find something on a dig like this that we document everything. So skeptics and naysayers, well, you just put that artifact there. Oh, no, I didn't. Here's the proof. Here's the pictures. You'll notice that the artifact is still in situ inside this area. Let's say where my trowel is in this picture. What if just the top of a skull was showing there? Well, that would be the first thing. You would take that and very, very slowly peel back the earth, and you would document that all along the way. That's a proper archaeological dig. Mando and I have been involved, like I said, in a lot of different places. Certainly in Peru, it's a whole different deal. Because the Wakaros come in and they just ruin everything. They don't care about provenance. They don't care about what was found, where it was found. They could care less. They just care about dinero. So, you've got a real disparity. You've got national treasures in Peru that are being looted on a daily basis, and no one does anything. Then, of course, we've got something called NAGPRA. And let me just get into that before I move on. NAGPRA, Native American Grave Protection and Repatriation Act, NAGPRA. Now, I never heard of that till I started hanging around Chief Joseph and we started talking about archaeological digs. Well, and Fritz Zimmerman, of course, knows about it. Mando knows about it. Anybody who's in the field of archaeology is keenly aware of NAGPRA, because that basically put the kibosh on any type of digging. In other words, you find Native American bones or whatever, you got to stop right there. You alert the authorities, they come out, the local tribe comes out, they have jurisdiction over everything. There's a reason for it, and it's a good reason. We don't want people digging up my uncle and throwing him in a museum. Hey, isn't that Marzulli's uncle over there? We don't want that. Well, Native Americans, First Nation people, they don't want that either. Who can blame them? And yet we know, turn of the last century, a lot of artifacts wound up in museums, okay? And Native Americans stood up and pushed back, and they needed to. The only problem I have with NAGPRA is it stops any real investigation from going forward, specifically with the giants. It just amazes me how all that has been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. I mean, if you find a giant bone, they come in, and we've had people on the show talking about this. So, you find something like that, the authorities come in, they confiscate everything. So that's why if you've got a mound in Ohio on your private property, we can come in and dig it. We have Mando Gonzalez, archaeologist, Rick Woodward, archaeologist, anthropologist, Chief Joseph Riverwind. and Dr. Laura Lynn Riverwind, who are our liaison into Native American First Nation people. So we've got a team of people, not to mention other medical professionals that will come in and help, and of course diggers and volunteers. So if you've got a mound on your property, shoot me an email, la@lamarzulli.net, la@lamarzulli.net, and maybe we'll come out and explore it. So if you're at all interested, folks, there are all 7 of them. Go to streaming.lamarzulli.net, streaming.lamarzulli.net. I am on the trail of the Nephilim, and we've got so much footage that we have not gotten to. The house is done in the Santa Monica Mountains. So once when we leave tomorrow, so once we get back, it's edit all day long. We're going to try to crank out some shows. So I think you'll find this little clip interesting. It was sent to me by someone. Obviously, it's tongue-in-cheek. It's called Disclosure. Res ipsa loquitur. I'll let the thing speak for itself.
Disclosure. Hey, are your ideas for global takeover falling apart? Are you losing sleep over humanity's mass awakening? Is false flag terrorism fizzling out? Global warming gone cold on you? Do you want those global warming deniers to just go away? Are all your phony economic crises being exposed? Is the price of gold defying all your attempts to fix it? Is it killing the Gulf of Mexico and poisoning millions of people, reducing the population fast enough for you? War, famine, and GM food not getting it done either? No? Well, don't give up. Get disclosure. You'll be able to unite mankind with a phony problem and enslave them with one world government and taxes. Yes, disclosure. Your one-stop shop for full spectrum dominance. But wait, there's more. Sign up for Disclosure today and you'll get problem, reaction, solution absolutely free. That's right. Absolutely free. Act now to be entered into our fabulous propaganda prize draw. Disclosure. Our surveys show that 9 out of 10 world leaders prefer it. Disclosure. Cleansing the minds of the unwashed masses with a tantalizing, terrifying, taxable new reality. I'm only going to say this 3 times. Disclosure. Disclosure. Aliens may or may not be real. Your home may be at risk from those possible aliens. No major credit cards accepted because there is only one currency under a one world government. Prepare to die screaming, probably. Disclosure is compatible with Project Bluebeam. Do not employ critical thinking.
Kurt, you are amazing. Paul Davies, thank you, sir. Paul, thank you again. Good tune. Anyway, folks, there you go. It is coming. There's no doubt about it. It will be the ace in the hole that they will use to enslave the entire planet and bring them all into a new world order. I've been banging this drum for decades, which is why we released our free film, Disclosure, The Coming Great Deception of a Luciferian Endgame. By the way, this week, I will be on Jim Bakker. We recorded it a couple of weeks back, but they're going to air that film or that interview on the Jim Bakker show. We will provide links once we have a link ourselves, and we'll let you know where that is. Also, I was on Derek Gilbert's over the summer, and Derek has now released a couple of those, and we'll be sending out links to that so you can watch that also. Folks, this is The Coming Great Deception and the Luciferian Endgame. While the clip I showed you was tongue-in-cheek and really well done, it speaks of something which, when it happens, life will change, pivot on a dime, as it were. Anyway, folks, thanks so much for watching. on the trail of a Nephilim, and of course our daily UFO report. If you have sightings of an unidentified flying object, please shoot me an email, la@lamarzulli.net, la@lamarzulli.net. If you've been taken, if you're a lifelong abductee, if you want to get out of this, if you've got an implant, shoot me an email, la@lamarzulli.net. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, we'll see you on the air or in the air.
Matthews, I've seen a UFO.
I've seen a UFO.
And I saw a UFO.